start.
Wish everyone a very pleasant afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today for this webinar on cleanliness drive and its importance, headed by our guest speaker, Dr. V.A. Ramaraju. Without taking much of our time, I would like to first introduce Professor Mukti Shukla from the Department of Statistics and convener of Swachhta Action Plan to give his insights on the same. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, all. Respected Principal Madam, dear colleagues, and my dear students. I, on behalf of the Swachhta Action Plan Committee of Sri Venkateswara College, welcome you all to this second webinar on cleanliness drive and its importance. Really, cleanliness is a mindset, a positive habit that keeps body, mind, and environment happy, healthy, neat, and delightful. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has launched the Swachh Bharat mission on 2nd October 2014, and the campaign aims to achieve the vision of a clean India. So, Swachhta Action Plan has proved to be an excellent platform to involve all the departments. SBC has belonged into this initiative in order to contribute towards this noble cause, as we all know that Swachhta is an integral part of the functioning of educational institutions. And you will all be glad to know our college, Sri Venkateswara College, is recognized as Swachhta Action Plan institution by Mahatma Gandhi National Council for Rural Education, Ministry of Higher Education, Government of India. Therefore, by keeping in mind, we have constituted this committee to work towards sanitation and hygiene, waste management, water management, energy management, and greenery. And today's webinar is an effort to promote awareness about cleanliness and its importance. I can say finally, cleanliness is not a project, but a practice. I hope we all understand its significance. And I'm really happy today because one of our senior colleagues from economics department, Dr. Ramaraju sir, has agreed to share his thoughts on this concept of cleanliness. And without taking any more of your time, I just conclude here. I hope it will definitely put some positive impact on my young brains. Thank you all. I wish all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. With that, I would like to now introduce Dr. Kishore Yadav from the Hindi department of Sri Venkateswara College and also a member of the Swachhta Action Plan to introduce the speaker. Over to you, sir.
से पहले इस ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म पर उपस्थित सभी विद्वज्जनों, विद्यार्थियों और सभी शोधार्थियों का स्वागत है। लॉर्ड बालाजी के मंदिर में आप सबका स्वागत है। श्री वेंकटेश्वरा कॉलेज टीटीडी के अंतर्गत आता है। सबसे पहले हम आभारी हैं टीटीडी के चेयरमैन श्री रेड्डी जी का और कॉलेज की आदरणीय प्राचार्य प्रोफेसर शीला रेड्डी मैम। We are also celebrating the Diamond Jubilee year under the leadership of our dynamic principal, Professor Sheela Reddy. We have proud history and promising future. Sir Ramaraju sir का औपचारिक परिचय मैं आपको देना चाहूँगा। Dr. V.A. Ramaraju sir retired as Associate Professor in Economics from Sri Venkateswara College, University of Delhi in June 2019. He hails from Visakhapatnam district in Andhra Pradesh. He did his college education in Maharaja College, Bhajiyanagaram. He did his master's degree in statistics and economics from Andhra University, Visakhapatnam. He worked as a research fellow in NCAER in New Delhi for 3 years. He joined as our Sri Venkateswara College in 1982 in the Department of Economics. He was on deputation to Serupse College, Bhutan, under Colombo Plan Specialist Teacher Program sponsored by Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India between 1991 and 1995. He did his PhD on sanitation and public health issue. He was invited by Harvard Medical School to present his paper on sanitation issue in a conference organized by IJAS. His paper was adjudged as one of the best conference paper, which was also published in IJAS journal in 2017. He was also invited to chair a session in the conference. In 2017 November, he presented a paper on Sri Lanka's export performance in shark market in Rajrata University, Anuradhapuram Central, Sri Lanka. He has 4 international publications and 2 in Indian journals. His Harvard conference trip was financed by TTD management. He remains grateful to Dr. P. Hemlata Reddy, the then principal, for facilitating the conference trip to Sri Lanka. डॉक्टर रामाराजू सर बहुमुखी प्रतिभा के धनी हैं। मातृभाषा, मातृभूमि और मातृशक्ति के प्रति नतमस्तक रहते हैं। रामाराजू सर इज द रियल सन ऑफ इंडिया। मैं सर का स्वागत भोजपुरी की कुछ पंक्तियों से कर रहा हूं, जिसका अभिप्राय है, यू आर द रियल सन ऑफ इंडिया, यू हैव मेड द कॉलेज एंड कंट्री प्राउड। तो सी द ब्यूटी ऑफ लिटरेचर इन 4 लाइन्स। देश महानव काइलाना हो, देश महानव काइलाना, देश महानव काइलाना हो, देश महानव काइलाना, भारत माइया के लाला नवा, देश महानव काइलाना, देश महानव काइलाना हो, देश महानव काइलाना, अमर बेंकी के लाला नवा, देश महानव काइलाना, लिखला नाया कीर्ति मानवा, देश महानव काइलाना, देश महानव काइलाना हो, देश महानव काइलाना। Thank you to all. Over to respected Ramaraju sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ramkishore, for all those kind words and that lovely song. I'll try to understand the total meaning when I meet you next time in the college. Proper meaning. I'm not able to follow it properly. Thank you for all those kind words, and I thank Principal Professor Sheela Reddy Garu and Ramkishore Yadav for giving me this opportunity, for remembering this old person from the college to speak to audience like you, a very, very eminent and competent audience like you. Thanks again, and thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure to talk to colleagues, friends, and students over there. And this is a subject very, very close to me and very dear to me. And Ramkishore gave me this opportunity. Earlier, I used to work with him in NSS, and we used to visit slum areas near the college and see those facilities and etc. etc. He always been very, very sweet and kind to me. Thank you, Ramkishore, again. When this subject, the sanitation and cleanliness, hygiene, Swachhta कहते हैं हिंदी में. The Swachhta or Subhrata in Telugu or Swachhta in Hindi, and cleanliness and sanitation in English, well, all are same, but they are extremely important to human life. And Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhiji, I will start with his quote. He said long back, before we achieved freedom around 1930s or 40s, 1930s, early 1930s, he said, very few people remember these words. He said those days, he said, freedom from insanitation, filth, and dirt is far more important than gaining political freedom from British. This is a little difficult to believe, but he said that it was so dear to him. This subject was so dear to him. Once he was traveling on a ship to England, and it used to be a 2-month trip normally those days, very slow. And all the Indian passengers came to him and complained. The British were not allowing them to move to some other upper deck, etc. Then Gandhiji said, don't blame them, you blame yourself, because you're not maintaining your deck cleanly. It's stinking with urine and human waste. So don't blame them. Learn some good things from the British. He was like a teacher. In fact, he is the first teacher on sanitation. First teacher, I think, whom we have known on cleanliness, sanitation, hygiene, and and clean living. And he also used to say, you don't need to be rich to be clean. This is the beauty of sanitation. You don't have to be rich at all. You don't need any money, literally any money, to remain clean, to remain presentable, to remain fresh. You don't need money. What you need is, it's a question of attitude. That's what he said. And APJ Abdul Kalam also said, sanitation movement is a noble mission for India. He said that. And he had those, he had a program called the urban amenities in rural areas. And there's a 4-letter word also, forgot, is known as urban amenities in rural areas. He said, why people come to from villages to cities? Of course, for a living, for a decent living, like Ramkishore and me came from Bihar and Andhra, and also for a decent living, a clean living. And he said, Abdul Kalam used to say, we can present this cleanliness and clean living and decent living in rural areas also. It's not difficult. We have to spend little money and organize things. That's it. And India is rated as one of the dirtiest countries. Earlier, it used to be called one very filthy, very dirty country, along with China. And China was also supposed to be very, very dirty till 1960s, 1970s even. And very few tourists used to go. And now China has been cleaned up completely, spick and span. So millions and millions of millions and millions of tourists visit there. So the first indicator for a clean country is having a lot of tourists. If you have a lot of tourists, and that means you are a clean country by and large. And one more thing, India is a relatively cheaper country compared to other countries. Our cuisine is very cheap and very, very delicious. And it's a very safe country without violence, like Afghanistan and Pakistan, etc., Syria, all those countries. So tourists love to come. Only thing that keeps them away is the dirt, filth, squalor, muck on the roads, on the dirt smell which you find everywhere. And smaller countries like Israel and Egypt make billions and billions of dollars, mind-boggling money. They're very tiny countries. They're almost as small as our Haryana, Punjab put together, or little less than that even. But they earn almost 3, 4, 5 times more foreign exchange in dollars than us. That is because, not that they're any great. In fact, their food is not good compared to our food. Our Indian vegetarian food and non-vegetarian food, which is very, very delicious, is a great soft core also for us. Their food is not all that good compared to ours. But still they keep away from India because of the dirt, squalor, filth, etc., etc. So once Tavlin Singh wrote, the first difference you find after stepping or walking on the roads in India is the smell of human waste and urine. So this is what keeps us away from so-called developed countries. So the apart from other indicators, the biggest sign, the biggest difference between a rich country or a developed country or a developing country like ours is this: the insanitation, filth, dirt, etc., etc. And one more point I would like to, before I go to the specifics of sanitation and other factors, I will first describe about the problem issue of sanitation around the world, and of course India in particular, and a little bit about my paper presented at Harvard, etc. There are many countries, smaller countries, poorer countries than India, which are far more clean and beautiful. For example, Vietnam, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Myanmar. These are no match for India in any way. They are simply no match for India at all. But still, they're very clean. They're very clean. A lot of tourists visit there, as I said. That is the biggest indicator. And they earn a lot of money. Cambodia, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, all these people earn a lot of money. In fact, we have more tourist attractions than all these countries put together. But still, as I said, That's the difference. Now the other one is the spread of insanitation has been witnessed in the last few hundred years in India. Don't think that India has always been a filthy country or a dirty country. No, not at all. If you go to the Magadha Empire, even Chanakya wrote in his Arthashastra, if you look into it, he has also talked about sanitation tax. Money given allocated to villages and urban areas to keep the cities clean, to keep the drains, sewers clean. All those things were discussed in Arthashastra also. I mean, he was talking about basically municipal taxes and panchayat taxes, local taxes like housing tax, etc. And one more thing is, one more point is the Vijayanagar Empire, and the Kakatiya Empire, which ruled South India for hundreds of years. They were appreciated. The Megasthani and the Marco Polo wrote about Kakatiya Empire. That is one of the cleanest and most beautiful cities. It's as beautiful as Rome. That's what he wrote in his book. So that means we are not always, India hasn't been always dirty for centuries or millennia. No, not at all. India has always been a clean country. It has always been a rich country. Soneke Chidiya, etc. All of us know. But there was a gap of 1,000 years due to invasions and the British rule, etc. When you are a slave, obviously, everything is not in your control. So that's what people say, people write, that India has become a dirty country in the last 1,000 years afterwards. And if you go into, if you go to the Mohenjo-daro civilization, etc., you find there a lot of organized sewers, very efficiently done sewers, built sewers with 5 by 4 by 4 or 3 by 3 bricks, huge bricks. They use bricks extensively, and there was always the deep underground sewers in Mohenjo-daro buildings, etc. If you go into, you can Google it and see. So the human waste and urine, etc., all this filth was taken away by flow of water using center of gravity. They were all drained, pushed towards the end of the village, end of the city, into a deep pit, and it is converted into organic manure. So this was there. So there were systems and structures available in ancient India also. So India was never a dirty country. That's the point I want to highlight. Now another one is another point I'd like to cover is this: the combined expenditure, of central and state governments, and ultimately, when you talk about sanitation, after all, you also talk about the money allocated for it and the importance that is being given to that particular subject. And after independence, this subject, obviously sanitation, drinking water, were not given prominence in the first 2-3 plans because of obvious reasons. You don't blame those governments, because we were undergoing a lot of stress, food shortage, etc., massive food shortage, and of course wars between China and Pakistan. So all the money most of the money was allocated for defense and for irrigation and agriculture, etc. So it was not a priority those days. In 1960-62, when Lal Bahadur Shastri was prime minister, he had constituted a committee on the welfare of the scavengers as early as 1963. And there was a report in NCIR where I worked earlier on the how to improve the living conditions of scavengers. That means our politicians, our leaders were aware of the problem, but only thing is the will was missing, the resources were missing, because India was a dirt poor country in 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s also. The condition of India was as bad as the present day Pakistan and Afghanistan. We are not now we are of course a 3 trillion economy, so we have enough money now to spend on all these things. So those days, sanitation was almost considered as a sort of luxury. Now, having a toilet at home was a sign of a very rich man those days. In 1960s and 70s, still I remember, very few and very few rich people or very few high officials only could afford a clean toilet at home inside their home. So the open defecation was rampant. In fact, it was 80%, 80 to 85% of open defecation. But 85% of the population were indulging in open defecation those days. In up to till now, till up to 1982 also. I will give those numbers a little later. I will also numbers with me, and I don't want to make it too technical also. I want to make it very general. In fact, in Harvard also, they asked me to remove all the equations which I had in my paper. So I removed all my equations and made it totally non-technical. It's a sort of general paper. That's what they liked. Fine, that's fine. That's true. Obviously, you don't need too many equations to build toilets and to make them, to keep them clean. You don't need maths to build too many toilets. And one more thing is, in the case of India, of course, the health and water, drinking water, and all these subjects, even including education, most of the social sector utilities, which we call, are in the state control. Central government has only advisory role. For example, drinking water, even sanitation, drinking water, village roads, primary education, secondary education, and public health, they are all in the control of the, apart from law and order, but they're all in the control of the state governments. So central government has a little role in that way, but it gives money. The money has to be spent on these subjects. And obviously, in a country which is poor, where the tax collections are still not very high, there is little money left for these things after meeting expenditures on other things like roads, irrigation, electricity, and other priorities like education, health, etc. Little money is left for a subject like sanitation, public health. And if you take the data, if you go into the RBI reports, the Reserve Bank of India reports of various state governments, how they have been spending money in the last so many years as a percentage of the state domestic product. State domestic product means the income of the particular state which you are talking about. You find that they are hardly spending, they've been hardly spending 1% of 1 or 1.5% of the money on health. That's why you have problems. You have many deaths. You have many shortage of oxygen, or many things like the very poor health indicators. India has very poor health indicators compared to many countries. Like the most important indicator, health indicator, is of course the infantile mortality, IMR. So IMR is linked to sanitation, and sanitation links to everything. In fact, it's like oxygen. It's there everywhere in the body, oxygen is everywhere in the body. So similarly, sanitation is also related to every aspect of human life. Don't think that I'm talking something unrelated to sanitation today as advised by Ram Kishore. No, it is the subject, the indicators which I'm talking are all linked to, directly or indirectly linked to sanitation. The infantile mortality, which is one of the biggest indicators of a country, of a developed country, which will tell you, one number will tell you whether you are a developed country or a developing country, is IMR, the infantile mortality. So the countries, all the so-called developed countries, the entire Western Europe, entire so-called developed countries, the developed world, have only single digit IMR, infant mortality. That means, what is the meaning of infant mortality? The number of children between 0 to 2 by 1,000 births. That means how many children between 0 to 2 are dying out of every 1,000 children born. That is the meaning of infant mortality. The lower it is, the better it is. Obviously, many children will be living, and it's less than 8, 6, 7, like that in all the Western countries. In India, when we got independence, it used to be something like mind-boggling. It used to be something like 450 or so. That means nearly half of the children used to die. That is the meaning. So now it has come down to around 36, 37, 38, etc. Of course, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and some states like Himachal, even Himachal, yeah, they are doing well. They are around 16, 14, 11, etc. Why this is linked to infantile mortality is linked to sanitation? Because the insanitation leads to diseases like diphtheria and of course diarrhea and other diseases. And most of the children, 1/3 of the children die in India due to diarrhea. And in fact, if you take the number all over the world, every 15 seconds, one child dies in the world due to diarrhea. That means If you take Ramkishore takes a class of 50 minutes in the college, by the time he comes out of the class, 15 to 4, 200 children would have died somewhere in the world due to diarrhea alone. That means when you go, Ramkishore goes inside the class and comes out. By the time he finishes his lecture, 200 children around the world, Africa, Asia, or South Asia, Latin America, 200 children have already died due to diarrhea. And this diarrhea is because of the insanitation only. Insanitation and insanitary living conditions, apart from other things like malnourishment, etc. And this is one of the, this was one of the biggest killers in India also. In India also, this is one of the biggest killers. And I'll come to the details, little more details now. If you talk about the social sector indicators, these are all linked. For example, education is linked to sanitation, and sanitation and education are linked to health standards in a family, etc. All of us know it. We don't have to be an economist or a scientist to know all these things. These are all very, very closely linked. If you take the amount of money that is being spent on these utilities, facilities. In India, most of the times, in India, the public health and education are in the domain of the central government and the state government. As I told you already, it's the state government which takes care of this basically. It is a responsibility of the state government. In a federal setup like ours, central government has its own responsibility like defense, foreign affairs, running Indian economy, mint, or reserve bank, or currency, insurance, etc., etc. And state governments have to take care of the day-to-day subjects like education, health, roads, irrigation, all those things. So if you spend more money on health and education and sanitation, drinking water, this IMR, which I said just now, the infant mortality rate would be very low. But unfortunately, except those two or three states, Karnataka and this one, Kerala is of course number one, and Andhra is somewhere in between, not very good or not very bad either. But the remaining states are in very bad shape as far as infant mortality is concerned. Some states like Jharkhand, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh, and etc., even Orissa, the infant mortality is very high because the amount of money being spent. Now, one more thing is how much money the government allocates for a particular sector to be spent as public expenditure as a part of the budget, as a part of the union budget or the state budget is one thing, and how it actually is spent is one thing. One more thing is, I'll give you one indicator about this. For example, most of the countries like Sri Lanka, Thailand, and then Vietnam, Cambodia, they spend around around 3% of their GDP on education. 3%, 2.5 to 3% on education, but they have achieved 80 to 90% literacy. You'll be surprised to know India spends more than that. India spends around 3.6 to 3.8% of GDP on education, but still our literacy rates are around 76, 75, etc. And 3.5% of a $3 trillion economy is $3 trillion is not a small amount. It's a lot of money. It's a hell of a lot of money. So it's not the money which is actually spent from the budget or shown in the budget is not important. How the money is actually spent is very important. The efficiency of public expenditure is very important. That means in Sri Lanka, though they are spending less percentage as of GDP, still they are able to achieve around 85, almost 90, almost 95% literacy. In even China is also at par with that. Almost they spend the similar amount of money as we are spending, but still they have achieved spectacular results. That means most of the money which is spent by Indian state governments and the central government is not well spent. It is inefficiently spent. The public expenditure management is very poor. So that means what is the reason? The reasons are very simple. All the reasons are known to us. The money is wasted, embezzled. Of course, corruption is always there. Corruption takes away a big chunk of this money, which is supposed to be spent on this one sanitation, public health, especially education. Well, now one more point is if you what actually you need. I'll come back to sanitation. as I said, 80 to 85% till 1982, 85% of the people were going for open defecation. Now we have a change in leadership. There's a change. I mean, the previous governments also spent money. In the Manmohan Singh government also, I used to attend those seminars there in Rural Development Ministry those days. They used to invite me. I was doing my PhD, so they all know me. So they were also spending money, but there was no focus spending. There was no initiative, or there is no pressure from the government to achieve quick results. But with the present government, the Modi government, Modi administration has taken it as a priority. So because of this emphasis, priority, and day-to-day monitoring and supervision, so India has achieved really spectacular results in sanitation. Now, suddenly, the world has recognized India's achievement in sanitation. The entire Western world now appreciates India's achievement in around 90%, 85 to 90% universal sanitation facilities available in India. Now, what actually it needs? In sanitation, as I told you, is not expensive at all. It is cheaper, in fact, it's pretty cheap. You need 750 bricks to build a toilet. 750 bricks and 2 bags of cement and 2 workers and 1.5 days of work. You have to dig a pit, big pit, 6 by 6. I'm sorry, 6 by 3 pit. You have to dig, and after that, you need all these things are available. A toilet seat is available now. Available anywhere. It's available from 50 rupees to 2,000 rupees. If you want to have a fashionable thing or a very, very, very expensive thing, you can spend even 20,000 rupees on a toilet. But for a smell-less, workable, functioning toilet, you need all these things. You can do it in 2,000 to 3,000 rupees, 3,000 to 4,000 rupees. You can build a smell-less, clean toilet at home anywhere in India now. And now we have what is known as rural sanitary markets, RSM, they call it RSM. And a lot of masons have been trained now. And so anyone can make a toilet anywhere in India now. Now the technique of the knowledge of the awareness is now available freely everywhere in India. So that is the secret now for the expansion. Then that power of building toilet in every village, everywhere, at a very affordable rate has come about as that's a result of the know-how that is being spread, and the strength of the leadership right from the Prime Minister himself. And the Prime Minister leads, things happen. For example, I give this example also. The Prime Minister's office in Delhi takes care of some subjects, important subjects, like space research. ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, is directly under the Prime Minister's control, by PMO's control. Similarly, nuclear research. Similarly, software also they pay a lot of attention to, and defense research. So all these subjects which are under the control of the Prime Minister are a tremendous success. We've done very well in all these 4 or 5 subjects. But if a particular subject or a job is given to some ministry, then that subject will fail. That subject or that field will be a failure. For example, dry land development, tribal welfare, ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme, women welfare, malnourishment, or child and women welfare. These are the 4 or 5 sectors, or 5 6 sectors, which have been failures in India because a lot of importance is not given to them. Earlier governments, sanitation was a small subject in the Ministry of Rural Development. In one deputy secretary or joint secretary used to be in charge of this for the whole country. There was absolutely no importance given to sanitation, drinking water. I will tell you one anecdote, very interesting anecdote. If you don't give importance to a particular subject, for example, in our college also, now our toilets are very clean because we have taken notice of it. Once I still remember when I joined long back, the toilets were not very clean. Then Dr. Krishnamurthy and others, they have taken interest, and they have appointed some more people, and they focused and they got the problem solved. So unless you focus on a problem, you can't solve a problem. Similarly, here also, when in the earlier government, sanitation, drinking water were subjects which were very neglected. In fact, I still remember in the UPA government under Dr. Manmohan Singh, one gentleman, I don't want to name him, from Maharashtra, Maharashtra Congress leader, top leader, was made Minister of Sanitation, Drinking Water. Okay. And do you know, he refused to take oath. He refused. He said, it's an insult for my seniority. You give me, how dare you give me sanitation and drinking water? I should be given something like external affairs or industry or some commerce or railways. So it is, the subject of sanitation, drinking water was looked down upon by everyone, not only the public those days, even the governments, even the politicians used to look down upon. So now when the Prime Minister says this is very important, he himself takes a jadu and does clean the roads, then nobody dare say it's a unimportant subject or unfashionable subject. So it's not money always. It is the importance, the leadership, the political will, and the drive, and the bureaucratic drive, or what you all call it, bureaucratic determination to deliver the goods. इच्छा, वो क्या कहते हैं हिंदी में, मन की इच्छा, इच्छा शक्ति ज्यादा हो तो कम हो जाएगा. Even if you have money, if you don't have ichha shakti, that will be a disaster. Like even now, the tribal welfare, the dry land farming, and the integrated child development scheme are still terrible failures, even now in India. That's why we have 50% or almost 40% of the children in India are still stunted and malnourished. 60% of the women are still malnourished. Nobody bothers about it. People like Richa and all should take leadership and do something about it. So all the powerful ladies in the college should take the leadership and bring focus onto these things. Because your children and women are malnourished, the country can never be strong. The country can never progress. Okay, just like sanitation. So focus should be given and importance should be given. That's one thing. And one more point I would like to mention is this: the role of the government. The role of the government. We call in economics, we call it in simple terminology, we call it market failure. So markets fail in a sector like health, sanitation especially, and drinking water, and even primary schools, because there is no profit to be made. The private sector will be a success, and markets will be success in things like airlines. Private Indigo is a tremendous success story, but their market won't fail. And similarly, markets won't fail in FMCG, the fast moving consumer goods, like all those goods which all of us buy from the private sector. Most of the goods which we use are made in the private sector. We use a Ford car, which is a multinational, and we use Indigo Airlines. We send our children to Delhi public school, and we use Airtel SIM. So most of these success stories are from the private sector, and all of us benefit from the efficiency of the private sector. But whereas in the case of drinking water, and sanitation, the private sector will not take interest, because the reason is very simple. There is no profit to be made. There is little or no profit to be made. Who wants to make cheaper toilets? Which private sector will go to villages and make toilets for each and every home in millions? Not now. Of course, you have this corporate social responsibility, CSR. They are doing some decent job, but you can't expect the private sector to build millions and millions of toilets and millions of tap connections to be given. It is ultimately it comes back to the government. So government has to take the responsibility, or you can say the role of the state. The role of the state means central and state governments have to take charge of this problem. And they have to take charge, and they have to deliver the goods. This is one point. And one more thing is the link between the sanitation and the public health. I have done some numerical work on that. We proved that if you spend 1 rupee on sanitation and drinking water, you will save 10 rupees in hospital expenditure. What is the meaning of it, guys? That means if the Delhi government spends, say, 1 crore on sanitation public health, and the Delhi government's health expenditure in Manohar Lohia Hospital or Safdarjung Hospital, etc., government hospitals will come down by 10 crores. You can interpret it like that. That means if you spend, it's like prevention is better than the cure. The cure is not important. Cure is not needed if you prevent it. So all the diseases which come from insanitation, dirt, filth, squalor, etc., murk, etc., is because of the insanitation, not because people want to fall sick. No, not because the infections are ready to come. No, you are inviting the infections because of the insanitation. And one more point is this. For example, Delhi city is, I will give these two examples. The Delhi city has population of around 1.7 or 1.8 crores. Let's compare it with New York. New York has exactly almost similar population, 1.8. New York has a river called Hudson River, which is very clean, sparkling blue waters. Whereas Delhi we have Jamuna, which is very dirty, very in a very horrible condition, very bad condition. Now, one more point. Delhi produces 1.7 crore people produce 13,000 metric tons of solid waste every day. 13,000 metric tons of solid waste every day. 13,000 tons. Okay. Interestingly, New York produces 2 times more than that, because what is the reason? They're a very rich country, very high incomes. They buy a lot of things and they waste a lot of things. They order 5 pizzas and eat 2 and throw out 3 pizzas in the dustbin without even opening the wrapper. So the wastage is very high. So New York, same population, but they produce 2 times the waste, the amount of waste we produce in Delhi. And of course, the per capita income of New York is 2 times that of India, Delhi, average Delhi also. Fine. Now, if New York produces so much of waste, it should be dirty or clean? It should be dirty, because Delhi produces only half of that waste. Delhi is very dirty and filthy. Most of the streets, if you leave the Rajpath and the Ujja Bhavans and all those areas, prime areas, Chanakyapuri, etc., most parts of Delhi are dirty and filthy. Whereas New York is very clean, and New York's Hudson River is very clean. Now, what is the difference? The difference is this. The difference is they are also human beings. We are also human beings. Is it not? We speak English. They speak English. And they also live like us and die like us. Fine. Then why the difference? Where is the difference that comes in? The difference is this. Why Hudson River is very clean? You can drink water. You can drink water from the river. And whereas this has become very toxic and poisonous. Now, what is the reason? Mind you, 1947, I was reading in a long back in a book, Delhi Jamuna water was very clean, very sweet. People used to go and drink water from during independence, freedom struggle, and after independence also. Most of the times the Jamuna was also very clean. Now it has become very dirty. Now, what is the reason? The reason is very simple. We don't have structures, systems to keep the river clean, to keep the city clean. What are the structures that are required? You require efficient sewage disposal systems, STPs, sewage treatment plants we call, and sewage treatment systems and sewage treatment plants, and very clean sewers. Very clean sewers are needed. That's very important. And huge, big, clean, well-maintained sewers are needed to keep the city clean. Whereas in New York, of course, they have. Now, one more thing is this. It's a use of technology. I always emphasize on technology. Earlier, technology was not available, was expensive. Now, technology is available in India also, and it's very affordable also. So with using the latest technology, we can also keep India very clean. We can keep our rivers very clean because technology is available in India. You don't have to buy it from outside, except few things. And all what you require, you need good big sewers and sewage treatment plants, and you need cement, bricks, etc., and some steel also to build all these structures. And we have all of them. We have plenty of them. We are not short of anything in this. And we have excellent engineers. India produces one of the best engineers, some of the best engineers in the world. So where is the shortage? The shortage is not money. The shortage is not cement, steel, or engineers or machines. The shortage is political will and administrative will and determination. Nothing else. Money, earlier you can say, "Arey, bahut garib desh hai yaar, ye kaisa hoga?" India is a poor country, so we can't afford these things. Now India is not a poor country. You can't call it a poor country. You can't call 3 trillion economy as a poor country. Not at all. The 5th or 6th largest economy in the world cannot be called a poor country. It can easily afford clean sewers and clean rivers. Now, in New York, they have a technology called incinerator technology. Incinerator, they call it. What is incinerator? All this human waste, filth, dirt, muck, garbage, kitchen waste, and all those wastes are dumped in and burnt. And it produces electricity also. It produces energy also. And you have to build these incinerator. That's how all the garbage that would have been dumped in Hudson River is burnt in an incinerator, and 3-4 incinerators in New York. The incinerator is like a blast furnace, a huge furnace basically, and they are burnt and cleaned up. So when President Obama visited India, Indian Express ran an editorial, very nice editorial. People would have missed it. I read it. I used to tell this to my students also when I was teaching there, Indian economy. It says the Indian government should ask Obama to send incinerators, not nuclear reactors. Instead of talking about nuclear reactors, which will come anyway when we need them, we should also ask him to give the incinerator technology and incinerators itself. And incinerators, mind you, is not a great technology. All our mechanical engineers and electrical engineers can easily build them. So what is missing is we have money, we have engineers, we have machines, we have cement, we have steel. Still, we are not able to keep our rivers clean because Ichha Shakti nahi hai hamare paas. Ichha Shakti or determination is not there. This is the real problem now. Okay. Now one more thing is to maintain. For example, if you want to maintain Delhi very clean, very clean, and we can do it. We can make it as clean as Washington DC or New York or Boston. Why we're not able to keep them clean like Boston and MIT? Because the reason is very simple. Again, it costs you some money. What it costs to keep the entire Delhi clean? Delhi government has to spend money. Nothing is free in this world. And that money is there. You don't have to borrow money from like Pakistan, from America or World Bank. You don't need to. We have enough money inside India. But Ichha Shakti, we should have the determination and the guts to collect more taxes from the people in Delhi, like you and me, like me and Ramchandra, Ram Kishore, and all of us have to pay more house taxes. And if more taxes are paid, this money, of course, it should be well spent. Why we don't want to pay taxes to the government? Because we don't have trust on them. We feel that this mera paise kha jayega. We don't have trust. The trust between the government and the taxpayer is lost, unfortunately, in India. So if the trust is built, if the chief minister or the Delhi government says, I will guarantee that every rupee you give me, I'll spend on the utilities in Delhi. I will not waste it. I will not waste the money at all. I will not eat it and I will not waste it. Whatever money you give me will be spent back on you, on your localities, on your sewers, or drains, sewers, and incinerators, or STPs, etc. You know, in Delhi, why Yamuna is dirty? I was reading a report by Delhi Jal Board. There were 8 sewage treatment plants earlier. And out of them, now only 5 are working. Out of 5, only 3 are working with 60% capacity. The remaining 1 or 2 are working with around 20 or 15 or 25% capacity. So what happens? Delhi produces so much of waste, so much of filth, and where it will go? It is simply dumped into Yamuna. Apart from the industrial waste. Industrial waste, all of us know it. But most of the waste comes from municipalities and urban households only. So what you need is, guys, you have to collect, you have to spend money efficiently, and you have to build STPs or incinerators and keep the plant and keep the plants running very efficiently. And you can keep your river Jamuna Ji also sparkling clean and green and blue like Hudson or Thames. You can easily do it. It's not difficult at all. And I was reading in Arunachal or Arunachal, I think Mizoram, we have the cleanest river in the world. That's very interesting. We're some of the dirtiest rivers in the world, and we have one cleanest river in the world in Northeast. So that means where there's a will, there's a way. It's not question of money. People always say that we are poor country. Yes, guys. No, it's not question of money at all. It's not always money. You should be able to collect taxes and spend the tax very efficiently. For example, in New York, my cousin says she pays 14,000 rupees for sewage and water every month. But the whole their area is, you will not find a single mosquito, no smell, nothing. It's absolutely perfectly clean. If you pay, you get it. I mean, if you pay pennies, you get monkeys. So if you pay very less tax, you get situation like this. Now I think the people's tax ability to pay tax is now rising. So they should pay more tax, and obviously, and then you will get a clean service, a clean city like anywhere in the world. Ramkrishna, how much time I have? अभी कितना समय है?
10 मिनट 10 मिनट कर लीजिए सर 10 मिनट
बढ़िया बढ़िया ओके थैंक यू नाउ इसमें if the human health, human wealth and basic dignity, in fact the sanitation is very dear to me because the reason is very simple. It also protects the dignity of women. That's the most important for us, is it not? The sanitation and a toilet at home is the most important tool or utility for women to maintain, to protect their dignity. And human dignity is the most important thing. After all of us, everyone lives for that only. So the toilets at home, clean toilets at home will protect the dignity of girl child and women. And so no amount of expenditure is more for this. Yeah, whatever you spend is worth it, more than worth it. And with the economies of scales, you can, as I said just now, you can easily build a decent toilet for 3,000 to 4,000 rupees in any part of India. If you, in a village, it is much cheaper, of course. So you don't have to go out and face risk. When I was working on this project, on my project, the UNICEF asked me to train some civil servants in Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat, and I went around some 14 districts. And I used to collect information for my thesis, also for my research work. I used to collect information on income, sanitation, expenditure, health expenditure, various indicators. I wanted to extend this work, but my guide said, no, it's too much. It's bahut zyada ho gaya. So the thing is, I used to collect data also. And one collector in the Madhya Pradesh, Jabalpur district DM told me very interesting thing. He said, the women used to go out because it's the rainy season. They used to go out. The heavily pregnant women go out and sleep and have miscarriages. Lot of miscarriages, garbhapat hota tha. Miscarriages used to happen. He said after the toilets were built in villages, all those things have disappeared. No miscarriages were reported. And one more point is, when they go out in the night, when men and women go in the night, during rainy season or other season, the dark night, there used to be cobra bites. It's full of, villages, we have cobras. A lot of people used to die. He gave me a number also, I still remember. Annually, around 720 people used to die due to cobra bites in Jabalpur district. The DM told me. He said after the toilets were built, all those cobra bites are avoided now. People are living longer. I mean, these are all small things, small things which make a lot of difference to the life and death, obviously. And one more point is, there is a village, there are many villages I have seen where there are no doctors. Can you believe, guys? मैंने पूछा था, वो एक सरपंच ने कहा, सर हमने डॉक्टर साहब को विदा कर दिया. मैंने कहा क्यों विदा कर दिया, क्यों, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? सर नहीं सर, उनको पेशेंट नहीं मिल रहे इसलिए चले गए. मैंने कहा पेशेंट क्यों नहीं मिल रहे? ये सेज कि हर घर में टॉयलेट हो गया और ड्रेन्स हमने बना दिया, कोई मच्छर वच्छर नहीं है, कोई बीमारी नहीं पड़ता, किसी को बुखार नहीं आता, किसी को कोई बीमारी नहीं पड़ता. सो डॉक्टर की क्या जरूरत है? वैसे ही हमारा रूरल के विलेज के लोग, गांव के लोग बड़े तंदुरुस्त होते हैं, इम्यूनिटी ज्यादा होता है. When this facility of sanitation and clean environment, clean drinking water is provided by these the state governments and the public authorities, the doctors found that they are out of service or out of job. They are not getting a single patient. So all of them went away to Bombay, Indore, and big cities where there are lots of patients waiting for them. So this is one point which is very interesting. So if you maintain clean drains, clean surroundings, etc., etc., and especially in villages, the other problem is like the excreta of the animals, animal excreta. Animal excreta is strewn around on the streets. That also creates not only bad smell, that also creates lots of virus and bacteria, and a lot of germs are created. They're going to the air and they attack the children, and many children may fall sick due to diarrhea, etc. So these state governments I have seen during my UNICEF project, this is collected, and and at the end of the village, some space is allocated them, and that is mixed, that is preserved every day, collected by the village workers, and the entire organic waste, like the chapatis, which unused chapatis, uneaten chapatis, sabjis, the sabji ka jo hota hai, the leaves, all those things were all mixed up, and there some mitti is put on that, and it becomes, in 6 months it becomes organic fertilizer, and that is used, distributed amongst the villagers. So it's a win-win situation, you know. You have to create a win-win situation. Everybody benefits. You also benefit, I also benefit. Then that program will be a success. For example, if Ramkishore and myself work on some project which will benefit both of us, then what will we do? हम जान लगा देंगे उसमें. We'll work with full force, full energy, etc. So to make any public program, public works program efficient and productive, what we have to do is you have to create incentives for the people who utilize those services. If उसमें उनको फायदा मिला, फायदा दिखाई दिया, और जान लगा देगा उसमें, जान लगाएगा, और वो एक्सपेरिमेंट या काम जो पब्लिक वर्क सक्सेस हो जाएगा. If you say that nahi, you have to do it, then you will not do it. If you force somebody to do it, he will not do it. But उसमें उसको फायदा होगा, और उसको एक्सप्लेन करेंगे, आपको भी फायदा है यार, सबको भी फायदा है, then वो प्रोग्राम sanitation or drinking water or cleanliness will be a success. ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. So that means sanitation में क्या खासियत है? It is just not money and technology and bricks and cement. It is also education. You have to educate the people. ये तुम्हारा फायदे के लिए, मेरा फायदे के लिए नहीं भाई, तुम्हारा फायदे के लिए. तुम्हारे बाल बच्चे तंदुरुस्त रहेंगे, तुम भी तंदुरुस्त रहोगे, डायरिया नहीं आएगा, डिफ्थीरिया नहीं आएगा, मलेरिया नहीं आएगा, डेंगू नहीं आएगा. ये दिखाना पड़ता, उनका एक्सप्लेन करने से. इसको कहते हैं इंफॉर्मेशन एजुकेशन काउंसलिंग कहते हैं, उसको आईईसी कहते हैं. उसमें हम उनका परिभाषा में सोशियोलॉजी वाले कहते हैं इसको आईईसी कहते हैं, सोशल वर्क वाले. इंफॉर्मेशन एजुकेशन एंड काउंसलिंग, ये तीनों करना चाहिए गाँव के लोगों को, कि ऐसा करने से तुमको फायदा है, हमको कोई फायदा नहीं, सरकार को कोई फायदा नहीं, तुम्हारे लिए कर रहे हैं हम. एक बार उनको ये फायदा समझ में आ गया, वो सक्सेस हो जाएगा प्रोग्राम. ये फायदा है. और लीडरशिप भी होना चाहिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ द प्राइम मिनिस्टर हिमसेल्फ टेक्स द झाड़ू एंड shows that it is a dignified job, all the IAS fellows, all the chief ministers, all the ministers, MLAs, वो भी करेंगे, झाड़ू पकड़ेंगे. नहीं तो वो झाड़ू नहीं पकड़ेगा ना, वो कहेगा यार मैं बड़ा आदमी हूँ, मुझे इंसल्ट कर रहे हो, मैं झाड़ू क्यों पकड़ूं. If the prime minister झाड़ू पकड़ेगा, उसको उसमें dignity दिखाई देगा. So that means that the leadership is very important. Leadership and commitment from the top always makes anything success. Of course, some fields are, for example, are success, like irrigation or space research, etc., which are not known to many, which are unconnected with majority of the people. They are also success because of the leadership and few number of top quality scientists who make it a success. But it is no link with the general public. But sanitation is, and drinking water and clean roads and clean sewers are linked to every day, with every person in the country. So इसके लिए थोड़ा आपको IEC करना पड़ेगा, information और education and counseling करना पड़ेगा. Similarly for women also, to do it, ये आपके लिए फायदा है. And immediately that's why you see in every home women maintain the toilets keep the toilets very clean. What is the reason? The reason is very simple. Because they know that it is very, very important for them. उनको बाहर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. उधर कोई क्या कहते हैं उसको, लफंगे, रौडी, मवाली लोग छाड़ भी नहीं होगा. There were some cases, होता है इतना बड़े countries में, rapes होते हैं, murders होते हैं. So all these things can be avoided if you have a clean toilet at home. So that means if you show some interest or self-interest to them, then that program can be success. Similarly, plastic waste. Plastic waste is a big problem now. As my friends from USA, it's a very, very serious problem. And even the Prime Minister is also talking about this. We should not use too much of plastic, because plastic will go into the drains and sewers, into the tummy of the cows and buffaloes, and their animals are dying, and all our sewers are choked. That's why whenever it rains, जब भी बारिश होगा, पानी बाहर आ जाता है, और roads नदी तालाब बन जाते हैं, है ना आजकल, because we don't maintain our sewers well. And as I said again, the sewers have to be maintained, means again it costs you a lot of money. I was reading a report of Urban Development Ministry. British have built around 2,000 kilometers of sewers in Delhi before they left, and we have added another 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers only. But still, Delhi, lots of sewers run overground, and most of the sewers built by the British are choked because they are not cleaned. So most of the sewers in Delhi, not only in Delhi, every city in India, they're all choked with plastics, garbage, stone, mud, and mitti, soil, everything. You have to remove them. Another problem one civil engineer told me is, once the mud or soil remains in the sewer, it becomes a object like concrete. बहुत एकदम तगड़ा बन जाता है, अंदर जम जाता है मिट्टी, and it becomes like a cement and concrete inside the sewer. So उसको निकालना बहुत मुश्किल है. You have to open the sewer, break it, and pull it out, and take it, dispose it safely in an environmentally friendly way. So इसमें काफी खर्चा है, काफी पेचीदा मामला है. हजारों किलोमीटर का सीवर्स को ओपन करके आपको क्लीन करना ये आसान बात नहीं है. And to flush the garbage from inside, you need a lot of water, which you don't have. You need raw water, lot of raw water. So we make a mess of it. I mean, we have made a mess of our sewers and drains, etc. So this is one reason why every city is like a lake. Hyderabad is in a horrible condition. You have seen these days. Oh, TV par tha. All the cities during the rainy season become rivers. उसमें बोट चलाते हैं, गाड़ियां भाग जाते हैं, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. इट्स एंटरटेनमेंट फॉर अस, वी फॉरगेट इट. अभी चला गया, विंटर आ गया, समर आ गया, समर में पानी की शॉर्टेज आ जाएगा, फिर बारिश होगा, फिर बारिश के बाद स्टोरी अगेन रिपीट होगा. अगेन every city will become a river, and it's become and we have created a mess for ourselves, and none of us is very serious. We are not finding any solution for it. Every year we see these river cities like rivers, or rivers like cities, and boats going around, etc., etc. So that means we have to start this. We have to. It's a lot of work, and money is there. Don't think that there is no money. India has enough money to clean its drains and sewers. You don't have to take a loan from World Bank for this. But what is lacking is Ichha Shakti, no determination, no will to clean our cities and drains and sewers. And once you clean the sewers and drains, you will not get diseases like dengue and all these malarial infections and various infections and diseases, which are normally not very dangerous, but they make you fall sick, and hospital beds are occupied, and a lot of expenditure for government on this. So once you clean up all these sewers, drains, etc., nobody will fall sick. As I told you, in the Gujarat village or the Madhya Pradesh village, nobody will fall sick. There are healthy villages. You can have doctor-less villages. You can have villages without medical shops, because you don't need medicines. You don't need doctors. So ये का सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. But only thing is, पैसे की कमी नहीं है. मैं बार बार बता रहता हूँ. There is no shortage of money. What is lacking is इच्छा शक्ति, political will, administrative will, and काम करने का ability चाहिए. For example, कॉलेज में आपको वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग का कराना है, पैसे की क्या जरूरत है? बहुत पैसा है, पैसा आ जाएगा, बट इच्छा शक्ति चाहिए, काफी मेहनत है इसमें. So similarly, lot of serious problems can be solved by work, by human organization. If you organize human beings, organize workers by paying them wages, decent wages, and see that the work is done very well, you will not have these vexing problems like the dengue, malaria, and diphtheria, and especially diarrhea, etc., etc. Most of the villages are getting now water. drinking water. Fortunately, India has decent quantity of water. We are not water short countries like others. We are fairly okay. We are well endowed with water resources. Only thing is, we are not able to utilize them efficiently. That's the only problem. So these are some of the points which I would like to, which I wanted to share. If there are any questions, Ramkishore, I welcome them.
सर बहुत आभारी हैं आपका। लॉर्ड वेंकटेश्वर कॉलेज में हम ये बार बार कहते हैं कि ये वेंकी है, इसका नाम भी बोलता है और काम भी बोलता है। ऐसे ब्रिलियंट स्कॉलर्स हमारे कॉलेज में हैं जो टेबल को टर्न कर देते हैं। और रामाराजू सर का लेक्चर सुनकर, औपचारिक तो धन्यवाद रॉबिन जी देंगे, लेकिन मैं सर आपका इतना रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड और इतना इलेबोरेटेड लेक्चर सुनकर मैं तो सर हृदय विदारक दृश्य आपने दिखाया, ऐसा मैं कह सकता हूँ इसको साहित्यिक टर्मिनोलॉजी में। इतना विस्तृत रिसर्च ओरिएंटेड अप्रोच आपका है सर, हम हृदय से आभारी हैं आपका। हम इस बात को बार बार रेखांकित करते हैं कि हम ये लॉर्ड बालाजी के बच्चे हैं, और अगर हम ठान लेते हैं जिस इच्छा शक्ति की आप बात कर रहे हैं तो हम कुछ भी कर गुजर देंगे, कुछ भी कर गुजरने में सक्षम है। इसलिए हम कहते हैं यू हैव बिल्ट द प्राउड हिस्ट्री सर, एंड वी हैव टू प्रॉमिस द स्टूडेंट दैट योर प्रॉमिसिंग फ्यूचर इज इन वेंकटेश्वरा कॉलेज। सो दिस टाइप ऑफ जीनियस पीपल्स आर देयर सर। वे रियली सर, हृदय से मैं आपका, हृदय के अंतःस्थल की गहराइयों से मैं आपका आभार प्रकट करता हूँ। बाकी फॉर्मली स्टूडेंट से निवेदन है, रॉबिन जी नाउ यू टेक अप द एंड कॉल, एंड एक दो बच्चे जो प्रश्न पूछना चाहते हैं हमारे ऑडियंस से, तो आप नाउ यू कैन कैरी अवे स्टूडेंट्स प्लीज। रॉबिन सर।
Ranjanee and Anuvrinda, if you see any questions
Yes,
that
sir.
might have been there, you please ask.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for this eye-opening and stimulating session. Your words have truly made an impact. Now, with your permission, we would like to take up a few questions from the audience. There are quite a lot of them that have come up. So one student is asking, sir, a lot of people who are living near the rivers or other water bodies for that matter, like slum dwellers or squatters, pollute them directly or even dispose their waste and garbage directly in these bodies. However, due to economic slabs, etc., they are not charged anything at all. Why do the middle class people have to bear the burden of such taxes and financial requirements? Especially because the upper class also evade these schemes due to various loopholes and gray areas within the taxation systems and such schemes.
Anyway, thanks. Very good question from a bright child. See, after all, poor people are also Indians, is it not? Once, I think myself and Ramkishore were also poor once upon a time. Okay, so you cannot say that the government has no responsibility towards poor. The slums are a problem. Slums are a reality. You can't wish it away. So to help slum areas, even it happens in cities, rich countries like ghettos like Chicago and other countries, Alabama or Indiana, and some many cities in US also you have ghettos and so something near to slums. They have their structures. So what we do is it's a sort of cross subsidization. That means people like you and me or the so-called upper class or richer class pay more to provide them to provide them a sort of a community toilets in every city. Community toilet concept is there, has been there. I think in Delhi also community toilets are there. But the only problem is since they belong to the poor people, they are not maintained well. That's the problem. So nowadays we have found a solution. After all, you cannot talk about the problem and get away or escape. You have to find a solution also. So you have some NGOs like Bindeshwari Dubey, who is my old friend, whose son was our student also in the college, and he runs a brilliant organization called Sulabh International. Sulabh International is involved in our college also in keeping the toilets and bathrooms clean. It in our college also. So you can since the government or the municipal corporations are normally not very efficient in these things, what you can do is you can request the NGOs like Sulabh. Sulabh is doing wonderful work around the country. Now he made it fashionable. Now cleaning a toilet has become fashionable because of that great man called Bindeshwar Pathak. So he can his organization or many such organizations are there. They can be given the job of maintaining these community toilets, which thousands and thousands of slum dwellers in Delhi or Bombay. You know that 40 to 50% of the people in Delhi or Bombay live in slums. Everybody doesn't live like you and me or Ramkishore or Richa. So most of the people, 40 to 50% of the people live in slums. So you have to take care of them. After all, what is democracy is? Democracy is caring everyone's, you're a caring society, you're a welfare state. It is not meant for living. A good life is not only exclusively meant for IAS people in Delhi or ministers or people's like or teachers of Delhi University. No, not like that. You can easily collect more money from you collect 1,000 rupees more from each home in Delhi. You have plenty of money to take care of all these slum dwellers, and 1,000 rupees is no big deal. People like you and me spend it on 2 pizzas or 1 pizza, is it not? Can't we pay more? We should pay more and take care of them. But especially, yes, you're right. If once they are on the river bank, they'll try to dump it. So you have to you have to educate them. You have to counsel them. Don't do that. Keep it in a particular place. We'll take it. Keep the river clean. And of course, government has enough money these days. It can build homes for slum dwellers also. They're doing in many states. Slum dwellers are shifted to 2-bedroom flats in Hyderabad and various parts of India now. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Another question is, NYC has attained a higher level of economic development. While this leads to creation of more wastage, the same thing is also reflected in the fact that they have a better system for the disposal and management of waste. Any views upon this?
Yeah, please repeat the first line. I missed it.
So NYC has attained a higher level of economic development. While this leads to the creation of more wastage, the same thing is also reflected in the fact that they have a better system for the disposal and management of waste.
Yeah, that's true. See, the richer countries are richer not for any reason. There is a reason for being rich and efficient, because they organize things efficiently. They collect taxes very well. They use the taxes very efficiently without wastage and corruption by and large. So that's the reason why the jobs are done. That's why in New York, all the incinerators are working with 90 to 100% capacity, whereas our sewage treatment plants work with hardly 50% capacity. In Delhi, Okla and Wajirabad, we have 2 STPs. Only 2 STPs are working for now practically. One is in Okla, the other one is in Wajirabad. They are working at 50%, and we are very happy with that. So, and the remaining 2 STPs, sewage treatment plants, are not working at all by and large. So obviously, you're dumping all these things in Jamuna. So where NYC, the New York Municipal Corporation, New York Corporation collects money very well. They collect good amount of money. As I said just now, 15,000 rupees per household they collect every month for just water and sanitation. And we hardly pay 3,000 rupees as house tax for the whole year. You ask your dad, he will tell you. House tax is hardly 3,000 rupees for the whole year. And if the Delhi government increases by 500 rupees, there will be hue and cry. The opposition party will say, no, we'll make it free. Don't vote us, kick him out. We'll make it 0. So if this type of competitive, this is also called democratic trap. Democratic trap means what happens? To win the election, you inculcate or you teach bad habits to the taxpayer. For example, if Ramkishore and me tell you, don't worry, don't study, you can copy in the exam. That is a bad culture, is it not? That's a bad method, is it not? Bad method of passing exam. So it is exactly like that. In the democratic trap, to win an election, the opposition party always says, vote me, I'll make it free. I'll give you everything free, free electricity, free water, everything free. Vote me. Then after he wins the election, there's no money to take care of the city. Then what happens? You will have this type of filthy roads, dirty roads, etc., etc. So this is one reason. So we have to come out of this democratic trap. This is the problem. So you have to collect money. You have to spend it efficiently. But once the trust is rebuilt, once the people are, people repose trust in the government that my money is safe, he will not eat away this money. Like Chanakya said in Ardhashastra, he said the king should not touch taxpayers' money. You take a salary, that's it. And all the taxpayers' money should be spent back on the taxpayer, on the city. It's very strict. And there is punishment also. If anybody does it, his hand should be chopped off. So like that. So, but we don't have such things now in the modern day economics. So what we should do is, you collect taxes and spend it efficiently. Once the trust is built, then you can solve all this problem. It's a catch-22 situation, or egg and chicken situation. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, so on similar lines, another question is,
Take
so
one
but
and two more.
information-
Take 2 questions more. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Another question on similar lines is, sir, but incineration will again produce so much pollution and toxic air. How can that be a sustainable solution?
Well, that's a question for scientists and engineers, not for me. But I was told incinerators have a decent mechanism to take care of these things. My nephew, who is from Delhi IIT, he told me incinerator, of course, consumes electricity. It also produces electricity. It does produce, for example, it does produce some waste, which is normally converted into sort of fertilizer. They use it, they convert into some sort of charcoal, which is used for burning in winter. That is given smellless, odorless coal, charcoal, that is used for burning. In winters, use burn. तो गर्मी ठंड सर्दी भगाने के लिए यूज करते हैं ना, we use it like that. There is a technology is there now. That's not a problem. No, the biggest kind of
so I just want to add, like, in this part, like incinerator, I mean, definitely, sir, it is a solution, but yeah, it is true that, sir, that it might lead to air pollution. So yeah, I mean, as the students pointed out, so I just want to say, yeah, so that point is correct, but we need some of those things. But I am just adding into it, like, it is definitely linked to air pollution.
Acha, Robin, how much it costs here? I want to know the cost of incinerator. How much it costs
Sir,
to have one incinerator?
So it depends, sir. It depends on the capacity and how much do we need. So yeah, it will be like a variable thing for different. Even we have small scale incinerators which we can install in societies and all, which would be lesser expensive. But large scale incinerators which are used for production of electricity, it would be a huge infrastructural cost in crores. Yes.
Of course, so nothing is free in this world. But like STPs, is it more expensive than STPs?
Sir, it may, I mean, it might be, sir, I don't think it's, so there are two different things. STPs would be for the water, and this is for the management of the solid waste mostly.
Yeah, solid waste, yeah.
So our capacity is like less than 30% of the water that we have in Delhi that is going for like treatment also. And that also, as you have already pointed out, that efficiency of our STPs are much lower, even much if lower. Because plus also, they don't run to their full capacity. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we have in the city, and why Yamuna is so dirty in the city. And we need more than 3 times the number of sewage treatment plants that we have currently. And most of them are not functional also. So that is a problem.
My intention not to blame anyone, blame bureaucracy or blame politicians or blame taxpayer. We have to find a solution for the problem.
Yes. Sir.
You can easily, so you can, there's a will, there's a way, we have solved so many problems, so this also can be solved.
Yeah,
it needs little money, of course.
Even if the government is putting up some policy, mostly the people in our country, especially, we don't see cooperations, right? So I think, like, if you look at even the plastic ban, which was implemented a couple of years ago, it has come back again with full flow. Everybody is decided to use it again, and policies are really something which doesn't much work, because I think public cooperation is very important here.
That's very important. Yeah, you can get it here. I've seen public cooperation, as I told you in my UNICEF project. I've seen people cooperating so well there in villages. They're so sweet.
So some examples are there good. Like you said, that people are happy with the toilet, but there are places where people have made their toilets as a dump yard for storing something, and they still go outside.
But that is reducing now. That's true. This is a very, very standard answer which I find everywhere. But now it's coming up, because it needs education and counseling. Basically, counseling we call it. It can be done. That's fine. It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. Yes,
it can't be done like this. It takes time.
Yeah, at least some awareness is there now. But
if once the awareness is, for example, your mask, this mask has saved so many lives. In fact, I myself stopped using cough syrups and antibiotics after this mask. I told you that day. I'm saving a lot of money. It's nothing wrong. It's a new development. Wearing a mask every day is helping a lot. It saves you from bronchitis in Delhi. I was a bronchitis student, a patient for many years. So ऐसा ही थोड़ा आदत बदलना पड़ेगा, वो आ जाएगा. You have to educate them.
Keep trying.
रॉबिन जी, अब
Yes,
लगता है सर को हमने बहुत थका दिया है। अब सर को औपचारिक धन्यवाद दीजिए। थैंक यू सर।
No problem. It's a pleasure talking to you. In fact, मेरे पास और माल है और 1-2 घंटा बात कर सकता हूँ, but you will not appreciate it. That's why I stopped. I want to talk about the world's Millennium Development Goals, sanitation goals in the world. United Nations.
So we will definitely try to organize it some round of lectures, and then like maybe more interaction with students is always good, you know. So to learn from the experience. So.
Yeah, I have material for 2 more hours of discussion. But anyway, I don't want to tire you off and bore you off, bore you to death. That's why I stopped.
Yes, no sir, no problem, sir.
Any questions? Any more questions? Any more
Yes,
questions?
sir. I'll just ask one more question and then we can. Okay, so this is from Pankaj. He's asking that schools in Japan, their teachers and students, they clean their classes together. So this would increase a sense of awareness about cleanliness in students.
Very good point. In fact, I forgot to mention this. I will tell you.
Yes, sir.
I had a student in final year whose father belongs to Indian Economic Service, our colleague, and he was posted in the Indian Embassy in Japan. Okay, so this boy went to a Japanese school there in childhood. He told me exactly what you said just now. What they do, really, in fact, I was so impressed. I quote this example everywhere also. When the students go, even the 5-year-old children, 6-year-old children, the teacher takes all of them into the toilet first. Okay? He says, you stand there and see how I wash the toilet. The teacher himself washes it, cleans it. So this is how we have to use those liquids and those chemicals and put it in a bucket and use a brush. And he cleans the urinals and the toilets himself. And he tells the children, you do it at home, your home. So the teacher leads by example. For example, if I sit in a chair and ask the child to do it, his parents will come and trash me. Is it not? Bash me up. So what you should do is the teacher should lead by example. उनका स्टूडेंट का फादर कहेगा मेरा बेटे को तो ऐसा काम कराएगा तो पढ़ाने के लिए भेजा हूं मैं. I have asked him to send him to school to learn something or make him clean toilet. He will not be happy, is it not? But whereas the teacher leads by example, he cleans himself with the brush and 2-3 times and said, "Dekho, kitna spark acha clean hai." Because as you said, Tokyo, Japan is the leader of sanitation because it's a small country with a lot of people. All of you know it. I need not tell you. Tokyo is the density of people in Tokyo is highest in the world. They have very small space and large number of people living in a small space. But still, Tokyo is very clean and neat city because they use top of the technologies in sanitation. So they are the inventors of latest technology in sanitation. It's good that I forgot to tell this. This is a very important point. So the whole world has learned many things from Japanese examples and Japanese innovations. They come out with a lot of innovations, innovative products in sanitation and cleanliness. Thank you, Beta.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions. With that, I would like to hand over to Dr. Robin Suyesh, who's from the Department of Environmental Sciences, Sri Venkateswara College. He's also a member of Swachhta Action Plan Committee to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
First of all, I would like to thank our speaker, our former faculty member from our college, Dr. Ramaraju. Sir, he retired from Department of Economics at our college, and when he was there also, like before I say something, like we had a lot of time engaging in discussion in the college staff room. I remember still when I had joined, and after sir retired, I missed those interactions, talking to him in the staff room most of the time after my classes. And he was also somebody who you could find in the afternoon in the campus. So it was always a pleasant interaction for me when I was there in the college campus, and which obviously ended once he retired. And we don't meet much often, but yeah, definitely a pleasure to meet him online for a discussion on some very important issues of cleanliness and why it is important for all of us. And then I would now like to thank also our principal for all her support, and vice principal for his support, and also to Dr. Ramkishore for him to invite Dr. Ramaraju for this particular webinar. And also I would like to thank all the other faculty members and the SAP members and our leader who is our convener of SAP, Professor Mukti Shukla, for all his support and encouragement. As a person who is leading the Swachhta Action Plan Committee. And I would also like to thank the student team, Anuvrinda and Ranjanee, for smoothly conducting the program, and also all the attendees who are present today. And also especially the students, like a lot of questions were asked to sir, and it was really a nice interaction between for all of us. And to thank you everyone, and I think we can formally say thanks to Ramaraju sir for insightful talk that he just gave to all of us. Yeah, welcome,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
थैंक यू सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार। ऋचा जी, राजू सर, रॉबिन जी, दोनों हमारे जो खास करके स्टूडेंट्स हैं, जो स्टूडेंट कोऑर्डिनेटर्स हैं, दे आर ब्रिलियंट वन। सो दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ वेंकटेश्वरा। थैंक्स अ लॉट वंस अगेन, थैंक्स अ लॉट। सभी को बहुत बहुत आभार, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
सर एक बार सब कैमरा ऑन कर लें तो हम एक फोटो भी ले लें, स्क्रीनशॉट फॉर।
What about other attendees? क्या करें?
कृष्ण कुमार सर,
I'm just promoting a few of them like the other day. I mean, you guys also promote some people so that we can.
Today,
very thankful to कृष्ण कुमार सर। कृष्ण कुमार सर थ्रूआउट रहे हैं, इनका सजेशंस हमें वैल्यूएबल सजेशन मिलता रहता है हर बार। हम बहुत आभारी हैं सर कृष्ण कुमार सर का, कि हमेशा हर सजेशंस देते हैं और अप्रोप्रिएट टाइम पे देते हैं। मैं उनका बहुत बहुत हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ सर का।
Hi, Krishna.
I'm just adding some students. You guys also add a few of them, like as per.
Yes, sir, adding.
आज maybe there is some setting problem or something.
No, actually क्या था कि आज it was all, I kept it open for all the panelists. So हमें किसी को upgrade करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही to turn on the camera. So initially I made all the people co-hosts. So co-hosts can upgrade. So हमें वही मतलब like I think that's
Okay,
the reason.
everybody can do it on their own.
Yeah, this time.
Oh, अच्छा. Okay.
Okay, some students have joined, I think. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
आप टेक्नोलॉजी में एक्सपर्ट हैं, आप ले लीजिएगा फोटो। मैं टेक्नोलॉजी में थोड़ा पीछे हूँ।
नहीं कोई नहीं सर, मैं ले ही रहा हूँ, मैं मेरे पास
फोटोग्राफ्स मैं आपको यूपी टेक्निकली स्ट्रांग। सो मैनेजमेंट पार्ट वाला मैं करूंगा मुक्ति कांत शुक्ला सर से क्षमा याचना करते हुए। जी सर,
ठीक है सर, मैंने तो ले लिया। सो
थैंक यू सर, सो नाइस ऑफ यू। नाउ सबको बहुत बहुत हृदय से आभार, और दोबारा हम फिर मिलेंगे ब्रेक के बाद। थैंक यू,
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, sir, I'm just
Bye.